Hello and welcome to another edition of the Diversified Semantic Layer Ask DS Layer. This is episode 2, and I'm joined by all my favorites. We have Clint,
Hello.
Dallas,
Hello.
Jamie, Josh, and a curiously absent Greg. Hopefully Greg will just magically appear later. So this is our second shot at your questions. You ask, we make something up, hopefully peculiarly, sort of close. So before we go, we'll pull up the first commenter. I was really poorly prepared for that one. Sorry. Our friend Andrew Fox asks, well, with all the Lumira on HANA for the on-premise solution point of view, what's our take on getting that content into the BI platform? And he even was kind enough to slap a diagram. I don't know if that's showing up or not, but I did my best. What do we think?
I think we should probably get used to needing HANA to do everything, right?
Yeah.
I I understand why. I mean, if we look at Lumira Cloud, it's running on the XS engine. There's no other way to display Lumira Cloud, right? It would have been nice to be able to store the it was SVids, whatever the new format is for Lumira. It would have been good to be able to store them within the platform without needing HANA. I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity and really impacts on the adoption of Lumira in a very large market where people aren't looking at going to HANA, in the next 6 months, right, or 12 months. It's still years out for lots of customers out there. So I think it's going to leave some customers, not adopting Lumira as fast as SAP would like.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a narrow.
Nice, Jamie.
Sorry to keep you awake, Jamie. Apologies.
He's oblivious.
I mean,
Well,
my take. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what you people are saying.
Go ahead, Clint.
So no, I mean it's key to what we're seeing at HANA first. And I know we harped a lot about it. I don't know if it was an RCS layer or the whole app-centric world, but that is the way SAP are going, and I understand if they don't want to do a dual investment and do another version of Lumira for on-premise, but I think that is, as Josh mentioned, going to lower the barrier for many customers. The big concern for me is, and I think to Andrew's concern of how we're going to get that back into the platform, I think you just got to have to be pretty careful about which users you enable to put that back into whatever your enterprise data warehouse is or your source data that your BI platform's pulling off, because isn't that the vision of Lumira? So you can create all these external data sources, you can enrich your data, you can put data quality rules, you can do all those wonderful things, but then with the inside of putting that back into your platform, that's a part that I think customers might get their hands burnt if they don't have the right people putting the data back in. It's my 2 cents.
I think it's an interesting decision given the adoption of Lumira. Maybe I mean I haven't seen stats, but it's probably a bit of a slow burner, and it's. I guess there was other ways they could have made it happen, and it is an interesting decision. It does lock out a lot of people if they don't want to go HANA. They have no way of integrating it with their platform, and I think that's I think customers would rather have less functionality and be able to integrate it into the platform they've invested in heavily than to have Lumira outside of that platform completely. I think that's.
But also, I mean, I guess it all comes to what the price point's going to be. If the HANA sitting on Lumira is going to be very runtime and at say 10% of the cost or whatever it's going to be, so it doesn't really affect your purchase decision. Then it could be irrelevant to the customer because it's just part of that package.
Mm-hmm.
But if they obviously price it as per non-SAP Open HANA, which is I think twice as expensive as under BW. Don't know. Don't sell software. But then it could be an entry point. It all depends how they price it. The fact that it's running the Lumira, it could be relevant. Depends on pricing.
I mean, we also have to be honest. We don't necessarily have the insights yet on what the feature set is going to be. What will all the capabilities of Lumira on HANA be? Will it work like Lumira on the desktop by that point? Will we be able to access universes, or will it be a Lumira on HANA only solution? Have we heard that, or is it just me?
I understood it was coming like in a service pack for 4.1, and it would basically just enable you to have the Lumira cloud functionality on premise. That was my understanding.
No, I thought Tammy.
I would have been really surprised by that.
I may be completely mistaken.
This is pretty wildly new functionality.
Yeah. This calls for a quick Google search during Hangout.
Do you want me to search it? I should have it back by Eric. I'll search for it. I'll have it back for the next Ask DS Layer.
You are so extremely helpful. It's ridiculous. It's not going to be an easy search, but I think the bottom line is it's going to be. It depends. It depends on how wildly different Lumira on-premise on HANA is going to be. And yes, I want to say in Tammy's blog it talked about a BI4 connector option as well. So basically information delivery via the link, BI Launchpad. It's early, more coffee needed. So I think the short answer for Mr. Fox is HANA, 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 HANA. Yeah.
I found a post on it. Do you want me to flick it to you?
Yeah. Or summarize quickly.
Oh, I'd have to read it to do that.
So who says men can't? Well, who says men can't multitask? Huh? Right there, boom.
I'm so confused. So there's going to be two launchpads, right? So there's going to be the BI4 launchpad, and then there's going to be the Lumira launchpad. And then over time they'll integrate that into the BI portal. So eventually it will be embedded in the BI Launchpad, but it will be running on HANA. Right? So that looks like Lumira Cloud. So yeah.
Okay, let's move this up so long then. Our next
I don't know.
Greg. I thought Greg made it. Hey, there he is.
Hey.
Unmute.
There we go.
All right.
Morning.
The dynamics of a live podcast. Love it. Very good. Are we ready to move on? Let's wrap this up.
Wait for me. Go.
We've just been slamming you for the last 10 minutes, but now we're ready to go.
That's okay. I can take it.
All right. So next is up from our pal and fellow shirt wearer, Timo Elliott. He asks, storyboards are all the rage with Lumira, ClickView, and Tableau. Same thing as dashboards or different? I think we talked about this briefly initially, didn't we? Am I crazy?
We talked about it on Twitter. I know I responded to Timo a little bit. To me, I think the rise of storyboards really means two things, right? One, we didn't do very well making dashboards accessible fast enough, right? So it just takes too much work to put a dashboard together, like a full dashboard together. But I think most of this is just about speed, right? It's we haven't figured out how to deliver the dashboards faster, so we've got to have some sort of intermediate step where it doesn't take 3 months for me to put my presentation together to get in front of people and share it. And so I think that's where most of this storyboard thing is coming from. But I do think it's very different, right? I think with a dashboard, it's really meant to live for at least a short period of time. And I think with the storyboards, they'll make it through a couple of rounds of the same presentation. And that's about it. This isn't something that you would carry on going forward as a way to monitor stuff. This is really just a way to share the insights that you've gotten around a particular topic.
I think that storyboards do step on dashboard territory, but we've already explored in this show that there's so many different definitions and interpretations of what a dashboard is that maybe it only creeps into the I want to rapidly prototype something and visualize it and get it out there dashboard. We talked about dashboards as apps and dashboards for guided analysis and all these other approaches to visualizing data in dashboards. And I think maybe Lumira hops into just one of those facets. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think it does. And, again, looking under the covers, I think there's limitations to what you can do with the dashboards tool, with this Excel engine under the hood, right? And then think about Lumira has Sybase IQ under the hood, and that's a whole different ballgame. So, granted, they're kind of doing, Clint's over there flexing his muscles, but I think they may be stepping on each other's toes. But I really think that the storyboards are meant to take this to that next level as the volume of data is increasing.
I mean, my perceptions of storyboards and the whole Lumira tool, it's very much a data discovery tool. So by putting storyboards together, you could be finding anomalies in your data or parts of your business that you really want to analyze deeper and take to people to understand the information and go down that route. Whereas a dashboard, to me, and my perspective, I don't want to offend the dashboard people, but a bit more of a static look on what's happening. So agreeing with Jamie's point in the beginning that the life cycle of a storyboard, based on the nature of the tool that creates it, could be to find an opportunity, a gap in data, something which you can really hone in on, clean up, and then move on to the next opportunity. My 2 cents. Giving away a lot of sense today.
Yeah, one of the I had a quick chance to play with storyboards at TechEd and in Lumira. Can't get it running on my laptop. It's cool, but it's very similar to exploration views, right? Like that's the feel of it. It's I'll drag a couple of components on and I'll add some global filters, and I get a very similar exploration view feel. And to me, that functionality, you can recreate it in a dashboard, and it's really difficult to maintain, and it's really a pain to do in a dashboard, but you can do it. So I think they're quite separate. If you look at Excelsius and now Design Studio and where they're headed compared to the storyboarding feature, I guess it's a very much a prototype, maybe for a dashboard. It lets you quickly knock something together and then walk with the maybe the business user what kind of functionality they want in a dashboard that's much more feature rich and takes a lot more design time, right? So a storyboard is a vehicle to get you there, perhaps.
I agree.
Dallas, I
Thank
thought
you.
you were about to say something there.
I think a lot of it is semantics. People define dashboards in a lot of different ways. I think storyboard means something that a user can put together on their own, whereas dashboard tends to frequently mean something that my IT department has put together for me. So it's almost like the shift from the term business intelligence to analytics. Sometimes we just get tired of a buzzword, and so I think that's part of it. I think I just did a quick look while we were chatting about this. So Tableau continues to use the language of dashboard to describe what their users are building. Romby likes to talk about creating stories. So some of the terminology again might be just trying to reflect what some of the other vendors are doing, and so from a marketing language standpoint, saying, yeah, we do that too.
Well said. So the answer is we have no idea in its entirety, but maybe there's a little overlap, but they're still different. Yeah.
Just one tiny little thing more there on what Dallas was just saying. So you're talking about a storyboard being something that a user could do on their own, but remember that Lumira is really targeted at the analyst. So sort of that expert user that really understands the data. So the dashboard still has a place as something that needs to be consumed, right, by someone. It's been prepared by someone else, whereas I think the analyst is really digging into the data and able to tell the story about the data that they saw in these storyboards, maybe a little more thoroughly they could do in that other dashboard tool. So it's not like an end user is going to hop into Lumira and start creating storyboards, because that's just not what it's intended for.
Too right. Anybody? Anything else? All right. The next question, also from Timo, is still still not better. Oh, I don't even know. But I'm trying to read it backwards on my screen. I wish you guys could see what I see.
It's Stilton a better cheese and Fermat was a mathematician. I'm so ignorant. I don't know what either of those things are. But even Wolfram Alpha doesn't know. So to me, that it's not a valid question.
Well, I did a quick search just to see, and the first website that I came up with for Stilton looked like this. So I'm just gonna say, just by virtue of the fact that this person shares the name, they lose.
Nothing beats a good Humboldt fog. Sorry.
I don't even know. Timo, if you want to show us up, you come on the show, man.
With your
Word.
cheese.
But you better wear your shirt. Yeah, so we're going to move right on past that. And,
That was great.
into the really meaty question that we've been skipping for weeks because it's so big. My gosh. So our pal David Taylor writes, what are your top 10 features within your favorite product? Ask DS later. Wow. That's a big one. Can we tackle that in 30 minutes? Yeah?
No. Well, if we each pick one, maybe. If we decide on a tool and we each pick one feature that we like, maybe we could do it.
All right, let's do our top 6 across all products.
We each get one feature.
I'm going to go ahead and just call them left to right since I'm looking at you guys that way. Clint, how about you? You're up first. You're lucky. You're the lucky one.
So there's this product called Sybase IQ that you guys have never heard me talk about.
They still sell that thing?
Time to yawn again, Jamie.
Yeah, it sells as much as Jamie's Desky sells, but it's up there. For me, it would be my favorite feature of that wonderful piece of technology is the Index Advisor. Basically, what that does through the logs, I'm going to go nerdy here. It based on the queries that you throw at the database and the cardinality of the data, it advises you in the log files or pretty HTML files what indexes you should put in, and pretty much helps you monitor your database as things go along. So it works really, really well, and it's great tech, and that's it for me. That's my favorite. I could carry on all day about that product, but we won't. That said product.
Well, you should have started by teaching people how to spell IQ.
Yeah. So just something else, which is
wait, no, you only got one. Shut up.
No, I just want to tell you a true story. It's one of my African tribal tales only come out when I'm drinking, but it is a true story. That every single time Sybase IQ beats another database in a POC, that an angel gets a set of wings. So just know that.
All right, I'm muting you now. All right. Moving on to Dallas, what's your number one favorite something from something?
As my lower third of my screen indicates, I am a Apache Derby enthusiast, and I think the inclusion of Apache Derby in BI4 and continue on in BI 4.1, it's a compelling reason to be enthusiastic about the BI platform in general.
Dallas, the master of sarcasm, both on Google Hangouts and Twitter as well. All right, Greg, on to you.
I would have to say my current favorite, and I'm going to get smacked by some other people here for saying it, is Lumira. I actually was doing some work out of one of our customers this last week and was pulling data from Wiley about the different web intelligence processing servers. And it used to take me a lot of time to synthesize all that data into one chart to visualize the load balancing and the memory usage. And I pulled all those into Lumira, and seriously, I had a visualization within an hour that was just beautiful. And I love having that. Go ahead, Clint, pat me again. I love having that Sybase IQ engine in there to be able to not have to do ETL without an ETL tool right there on my desktop and just be able to twist that data around. So that's my favorite feature at the moment. I love being able to move the data around and to sanitize it and split it and clean it and make it a nice visualization out of it quickly.
So Jason Rose is buying you drinks at the next conference.
Jason, he just totally stole mine.
These fanboys.
All right. Fanboy, yeah. Jamie, you're up. What do you got? Are you awake still? You didn't look like a minute ago on the Twitter feed.
Barely. So my
that was a bit of a.
seem to have much of a defined future.
Jamie, wait. We just we lost
Jamie?
you.
We lost you and gained a child.
No. Good morning, sweetheart.
Oh, we're gonna have a tender moment. Hi, Ailey. Hey. You're muted now.
All right. Well, you'll all be glad to know that she beat her mother getting her socks on. So,
Awesome.
am I?
Your connection is just in the commode, dude.
Are you in
Explorer.
Are you in Cape Town at the moment?
Could you just hold up a sign or something?
Sign language. Come on.
All right, we'll come back to Jamie. Like, what
You can click on him.
did it say?
Explorer.
I like
Explorer.
He likes Explorer.
Oh, that's great. Josh, how about you?
There's a few, but if I had to pick one, and maybe I can kind of sneak a few in there, is the
No.
performance tuning capabilities of the universe. By which I mean stuff like loops or contexts to resolve loops, and index awareness is a big one. It could probably still be improved, but from a traditional dimensional modeling standpoint with primary and foreign keys and dimensions and facts, if you turn on index awareness and you use it appropriately, it will, and you've got a lot of data, it'll produce such a massive performance increase in your queries that are generated by the universe. So, I mean, hardly anyone seems to use it. I've never seen it used. I've never seen it used. I haven't seen it used very much, but when it is used, it's just awesome. So.
Because, I mean, Josh, with HANA, you don't need dimensional views anymore, so...
I know, but it's still relevant to me in my day job, and but I know it's not going to last long.
You can.
Jamie, Jamie, did that say what? Did that say Wi-Fi or wife? Just asking.
Oh no.
Sorry, Becca.
Okay, let's have an experiment in text podcasting. All right, you ready? Oh my gosh. Was that everything, Josh?
It's still largely an audio medium, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, text overlays aren't going to help, are they? Oh gosh. So if you're listening,
I'll park it there if you want to move. If we want to do another round, or actually, we haven't heard yours yet, Eric.
Yeah, it's your turn, Eric.
Oh. Like you, I have so many favorites. But I think I'm gonna have to go with the desktop intelligence compatibility patch. No. I like BI Web Services. It's not an often mentioned capability of Webby, but it's been around for since XI 3.1,
Mhm.
SP2 or 3 or something like that. And I think it's just a tremendous alternative to queries web service. I can cache data with it. I can filter rows with it. I can do all kinds of things to use a web report to populate data in my dashboards, right? Or anything else that wants to consume it. We've actually used it in some other programming stuff we did.
You know what would be a really good podcast? It would be picking our favorite things and then talking about how they could be improved. Like if I take BI Web Services, it's awesome. But why can't I just build a query from the universe and then schedule it and get it caching and then pick it up with other stuff rather than having to build a web report and have it tied to a web report? Just seems like a roundabout way of doing it, right? I don't know. I really like it, but I'm just saying, like, I look at some of the things that we call out, and there's still so much room for improvement to make them just even better.
I smell.
Am I being unfair?
No, I smell.
Did I pick on yours, Eric?
That's a fun show. Let's talk
That
about
would be a good show.
The top things we think they can make better.
Even my
Bring us
index
back.
awareness. Like why not? Why can't I just apply that to a whole dimension? Why do I have to do it for for a whole dimension table? Why do I have to apply it to every single dimension object linked to that table? That's a huge amount of work for what? Like it's all the same thing. Anyway, sorry.
Same thing with ag
I'll save it
awareness.
for the podcast. Yeah, aggregate awareness, same thing.
Are you listening, SAP? You should be. We lost Jamie.
We did.
You got time for another round?
That was mildly entertaining. What do you think? You guys got enough time for another round? I do. Nobody's saying no. All right. Clint, you're going to have to think of something other than IQ. Good luck.
I
knew you couldn't do it.
No, it involves IQ. No, I think the smart data access, big fan of that. I think that's awesome. Works really, really well.
What's that?
I think everybody knows. It's HANA and linking to sort of a third-party database with HANA as your entry point, whether that's Teradata, I think it's DB2, and Hadoop, and maybe Sybase IQ. But the point is that you using HANA as almost a federation engine to merge data sets between other databases and HANA, but HANA is your main entry point, so your universe typically would just sit on top of HANA. I've only obviously done the benchmarks with IQ and the performance. I mean, generally federations, Greg, I know we had the discussion a while ago about, the Bob J doing it is not great, but the response times are exactly the same as if you're running the queries on the third-party database. So I think they did a great job with that, and hopefully they can look to extend that. That to me as an enterprise data warehouse guy is an awesome feature. It puts HANA in the picture because you don't have to worry about everything being in memory. Typically you'll run out of budget, if you do it that way. So that's mine.
Well, very good. Dallas, did you come up with another one that was tongue-in-cheek?
It's interesting to hear everybody talk. I think everybody gravitates back to their happy place with the BI platform because it's I mean, let's face it, it's a big platform, and so as I was thinking of my other one, I go back to web intelligence a lot. I still think it's a tool that's in transition, but I really enjoy the visualization improvements in 4.0, and not only that the charting has become better in web intelligence, but the approach that SAP has taken that charting ought to be it ought to be an offering of the platform, and it ought to be shared across tools. And I think that even though it's in transition, it's there's a lot of capability there. I like seeing documents come over from earlier versions of business objects, and just without any effort at all, they just magically look better because of those improvements. And that's a feature that I really enjoy.
Well said. Mr. Myers.
Well, going back to my sweet spot, I guess, on the BI platform, I would have to say in BI 4.1, one of my new favorites is the configuration wizard. The arduous task of having to sit down as an administrator after you do an install and spend hours configuring, splitting the adaptive processing servers to have the bulk of that work done for you now just based off of that wizard is great. It saves a lot of time and makes my job a lot easier, so I'm a big fan.
Mr. Fletcher.
I'm going to turn fanboy for a second, and what I'm really, really excited about is what SAP are doing with HANA. And I don't think you can underestimate. Yeah, I know. I don't think you can underestimate how awesome a platform it is when you think about not only the XS engine, which is just fantastic in its own right, as combining a web application server with a database inside one application, but also the capabilities they're building into the SQL engine and what you can how you can query stuff. You've now got unstructured text analysis. You've got the smart data access, so you can call out to other databases. You've got data quality transformations. You've got the predictive algorithms that you can call. You can call to R and pass data to R and then retrieve it back. You've got the the business function library. Like it just blows every other database out of the water that I've ever touched. It is very exciting, and it's probably enough of being a fanboy, but I'm quite excited about that. So.
Well, I mean, if you think about all those things you described, SAP took the opportunity to build the database from the ground up and clearly thought what would make it really, really good, and had a chance to invent from the ground up. I mean, it is cool. Well, I guess I'll wrap this up with my favorite. I have a lot. I'm a fanboy. I've been doing this for a long time. And there's so many that I'd like to say as my last first before I go, I guess. But it's stealing from Josh a bit. It's going to be the universe. My second runner-up was mobile. I'm going to go and sneak that in because I'm last and I can. But the universe. When I first started with business objects, I was a universe developer, and just the ability to take all this wacko database complexity and make it easy for a user to consume was a big deal. And even as the universe turns however many decades old, it's still my hope that SAP is not going to let the universe die on the vine with HANA and BW and all the other semantic layers that exist, and that somehow the universe will be that layer that exposes all data to all tools someday, because it's really good, and that's what I think put business objects on the map, not just reporting. It's the universe. So that's my 2 cents. So, hey, that brings us to the end of our second Ask DS layer. David, I knew you asked for the top 10, but we'd have like 60 things to talk about then, dude. Sorry. We lost Jamie. We should probably go find him in the wilds of the internet. But yeah, fun show, guys. You probably won't hear from. Probably won't.
Do you know where Jamie's probably gone? So I heard rumors through the back channels that he was one of the backup dancers for Justin Timberlake in St. Louis this week. I don't know if that is true or not.
I have video.
Okay, awesome. So maybe he's gone for a signing or something, or to stretch. I don't know what dancers do.
Yeah. He strangely didn't come back, so he must have got a better offer or something. All right, guys. Well, for those of you that are on this continent, enjoy your Thanksgiving, and for you that aren't, enjoy your whiskey and your poor internet. All right. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
See ya.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
This podcast is hosted and sponsored by EV Technologies. Visit us on the net at savethecms.com.
D-Slayer!